Come on in, Dr. Allison.
Hello, Caroline Cass.
Okay, Raleigh, you might have seen a recent video we put on Instagram of Caroline stepping into this white-looking capsule enclosure thing.
Spaceship.
Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
And we have the founder of the Wellness Centre with us today, Dr. Allison, which we're excited to chat with.
Yeah, we're stoked. As a family, we've been seeing Dr. Allison at the Well-Centered Wellness Centre for a few years. We came back from our RV trip in 2019 after like 10 or 11 months on the road, and health was in terrible condition. And thankfully managed to find Dr. Allison and been seeing her. So has Craig, so has our girls for several years now. And Dr. Allison is the founder of Well-Centered Wellness Centre. She has a background as a chiropractor for over 17 years and is regarded as one of the top female chiropractors in North Carolina. But her wellness centre offers so much more, including the Hocket that Craig just mentioned, AMP coil, brain tap, red light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, genetic-based nutrition, and CBD and hemp-based products. And Dr. Allison and her husband John, who also helps running the centre, both have fascinating health journey stories. So maybe we should start just there and tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this health and wellness gig.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was just I was destined to go that direction. And for me, it was a huge part of my able to be whole, plan, journey in life. I had a difficult entrance into the world. Literally, I think they said failure to thrive on my birth certificate.
Wow.
And it was a 24 and a half, like emergency C-section kind of birth. So there we had that. Then there was colic. Then there was allergic to everything. Then by the age of 8, I was actually diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
Didn't know that, an 8-year-old could be diagnosed with that, but there's a juvenile type.
Wow.
Why would that happen? Stress. Stress destroys us. So in 1981, I was picked up by my father on a motorcycle. It didn't go well. There was problems with the motorcycle, the way that it was made. And fast forward, I became an amputee that almost bled out on the side of the road.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a tough day for my dad.
Yeah.
And in 1982, I ended up losing my balance. I don't know whether I was pushed or whether I fell naturally, but I fell from the deep end of an empty swimming pool onto my head.
Gosh.
So near-death experiences are commonplace in my memory. I have had a couple. And so from that point, that's enough stress for just anyone to go downhill. And a child has tremendous ability to rebound. I will say that children are even more resilient than we are. And so, a touch of the right thing, and it can spark complete healing in them. So my mother, I'm grateful for her abilities to be in the natural health and wellness component and aspect of life. And so she introduced me to all kinds of natural ways of healing. So from that point, it was just a part of my DNA. Yes, I grew up with blue-green algae smoothies. I actually don't recommend them.
Ooh, that don't sound that attractive or tasty. Blue-green algae smoothie.
So, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But I was familiar with all the weird stuff. And so for me, I felt that the right type of weird stuff that I have actually angled in on technological advancements from Nikola Tesla, Einstein, and so many other brilliant minds created. And so for me, that was even more effective with everything from personal battle with Lyme disease and migraines to, preventing all kinds of things that are prevalent these days.
There's so much I didn't know. I knew some of that, but not all of it. And so I'm just kind of sitting here in amazement, really, given that you're such a picture of health and you're so positive and vibrant, considering what you had to go through. Yeah. And so you said so much of this is related to stress and how it's such a silent killer. How can people relate to that in their everyday life when they just think stress is just a normal part of life? Should we just classify it as, well, life is stressful and then just keep hustling through it?
I think it's a matter of seeing ourselves as different size buckets. You know, we're genetically gifted with certain size buckets, you know, and sometimes it's really tiny bucket. And so when we add things like a difficult birth, deficiencies of minerals, not enough, you know, colostrum from the mother's milk, you start piling things from childhood, and before long, you could have an overloading bucket. Well, that, to me, really answers the question on, well, my grandpa was 97 and he smoked cigars every day and ate Bojangles. Well, you know, there he had a bigger bucket.
Right.
And so it really helps for me to understand that life is going to happen. And your body literally doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. It's just stress. And so if we had a divorce, we had a car wreck, you know, fights with our parents, these things all add up. We better be emptying the bucket faster than we're filling it up.
And how do people start just by even knowing how they empty the bucket?
Well,
what can they do?
How do they know that their bucket is filling up?
Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff that they take for granted, like, oh, it's just a normal headache. Headaches are not normal. They are so common, but they're not normal. That's a big sign. And I make fun of this stuff because I had all this stuff, you know, and we just take it for granted that we feel achy and, you know, swollen in the morning and irritated and headachy and sniffles. How about all the people that their nose is just dripping first thing in the morning? That's a histamine effect from cortisol spiking, usually to start the day. And it often means that they had something within the last 72 hours that was actually inflammatory for them.
Yeah.
In terms of food, you mean?
Yeah.
Consuming something.
Yeah. Or perhaps they had a toxic exposure, like they walked into the store and there was Roundup and glyphosate right there at the front of the store. And then all of a sudden they were bombarded by that it's been well documented is a carcinogen, you know? So how do we not lose our brain by the time we get to the car from something like that? Well, there's all kinds of tools of things that can help you day to day, whether it's mercury in your sushi or glyphosate, you know, when you enter the store. We don't have to live in fear. There are, you know, tools like you guys know about that we don't have to live in such fear from everything.
Yeah, we can chat about some of those options soon. I guess you can't avoid all stress though, and some stress is good. Like, for example, like you got to put stress on your muscles for them to grow. So I guess some stress on your mind and your brain, and that's good too, healthy. Like you can't just avoid it completely. It's how you manage it and reduce it.
Yes. So we need to empty our bucket of that, you know, angst and cellular inflammation that happened with that particular stressor. And I always joke that, like, when you fall in love, that's such a stressor, actually.
Yeah.
Your heart races, you're sweating, cortisol's flying, adrenaline, you can't sleep. Your body literally is acting as if it was a bad stress.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, we need days where it's quiet. We need to be in nature to rejuvenate. And we are voltage beings. You know, we're literally, if I could simplify a human, we are a battery.
There you go.
And we need voltage, right? If we minimize our voltage in our cells, we head towards dis-ease. And dis-ease comes before disease. So can we turn that truck around when we're in a state of dis-ease? Yeah, that's just like listen to the symptoms and do something to empty the bucket.
And that stress, like you said, nature is a huge thing, and particularly like coming out of the last couple of years with everyone being isolated and stuck indoors. And it's one thing that we really push with our kids and ourselves is getting outside as much as possible, but not just getting outside, but touching the ground with bare feet or getting some safe sun exposure and stuff like that. because it's all so important. Like when you think about it, people like wear shoes all the time, or the first thing they walk out the door in the morning with sunglasses on, like they're not getting any sunlight in their eyes, and we're just covered up head to toe all day, every day.
Yeah, I love to talk about free medicine. I wish that everybody would watch the sunrise every single morning, watch the sunset, download an app called D-Minder that will allow you the safe times to go out and collect the most vitamin D throughout the day. And, you know, people are afraid of saturated fat, but you have to have saturated fat in your skin in order to convert that sunshine into vitamin D that prevents 16 types of cancers.
Wow.
So it's like we've vilified some things that are pretty darn necessary in our structures.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned this before to me, that your morning ritual, going out, and you're not staring at the sun, are you? You're looking in that direction.
So if it's right over the horizon, I personally look at it for about a minute, and then just start looking at it 4 inches as you look towards it, 4 inches below it or above it, and let it in the back of your eyes without sunglasses or any type of protection over your eyes. And it reboots the entire brain. It hits the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the pineal, and it resets your hormones, and it's just so incredible for preventing so many psychological weaknesses that people feel right now. And then, you know, getting barefoot, like you said, and if you don't like to get barefoot, then wear some old socks, you know, wear leather bottom shoes.
Yeah, actually.
So that works.
Yes.
I actually mowed the lawn yesterday bare feet, and I was just wondering if people would be looking at me like, what is this weirdo doing? Like, he's got bare feet mowing the lawn. It was safely, it's just a little battery operated. Like, I'm not doing anything dangerous. Well, I don't think I am, but there's a good 40 minutes of grounding, earthing time.
Yeah, my husband likes to go downstairs and do woodworking in his moccasins that are leather bottom now. And same thing, you feel way better when you had a couple hours of collecting electrons is what that is. It's very documented, lots of research done on everything from arthritis to anxiety and depression, that we need to gather electrons to heal, and it's back to being a battery. So we have to be hydrated. You know, you got to have your electrolytes. We're a battery, we need salt. And we need light.
And so for people thinking about like electrolytes in their water, so during the day, are they putting electrolyte powder in it, or are there other ways they can get that are easy and accessible?
I love a carbon-based technology that I carry in the office, and it's minerals that you can just drop into your water that hardly make it taste any different, and there's certainly not any carbs or sugars in that. One that you can just pick up at Whole Foods or something is called Ultima, and it doesn't have the carbs or the sugar, once again. A lot of them do have both of those, which is a little counterproductive at times.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
so something to look out for. How do people know that it's in there? I know this is kind of like a basic question, but some people don't know how to.
Yeah, just look for it to say 0%, 0% next to carbs.
Yeah,
it's a good start. And then, you know, we certainly don't want to have sugar, which we know is inflammatory. We need to take a break from it so much. We need some hours without sugar for sure in our day. And that does lead us down the road of fasting. I think we're all fans of fasting.
And salt intake's been vilified as well too, hasn't it? I mean, there's good and bad salt, obviously.
Well, and you know, the sodium-potassium pump is how our heart beats. So sodium is sodium. We all need sodium. I personally love real salts, you know, Himalayan salts. Have some micronutrients in there too, some trace minerals.
Redmond real salt from Utah.
That's one of my favorites because it dissolves better. And if you were to go on a big hike, you guys are always hiking. I love your family being outdoors all the time. The kids just thrive in the sun, and you are definitely not a family that wants to miss a sunset.
No.
You know, you might have to drag your kids out in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Sunrise is tough with the kids.
With a teenager especially.
But plus it helps with your sleep pattern too, doesn't it? Like seeing the morning light and with your circadian rhythm and stuff like
you
that.
You got it. And that is the fastest way to reset your circadian rhythm. You know, whether you were jet lagged from your travels to London recently, you know, you better get up and just watch that sunrise wherever you are, because it will just reset things. You know, you make the nighttime hormones with the morning sun. So if you are low in melatonin and you're having difficulty with your sleep cycle, you have to get up and watch the sunrise. And people will argue and argue about that. And if it could reset so many things in your life, and worst case scenario, you had to get up earlier than you want to, would it be worth it? I think it's worth it. I think it's a no-brainer.
What do you say? Because I know we come across this all the time, and in America especially, they're so against getting up early. Americans like to sleep in. So when you're confronted with that situation where you're like, look, here's something that can really make a difference to your health, but there's such resistance to getting up so early, what's something you can say to help? Or why do you think people just don't want to make such a simple change? Or how can you help encourage?
I think that people don't really know that the body only heals when your eyes are closed and you're sleeping. That's the most ideal. You can do some with the eyes closed in a meditative or prayerful state. But I tell people, just start by going to bed 15 minutes earlier than you did last night. And then the next night, another 15 minutes earlier. Because if you go to bed before 10, when your body starts to heal your brain between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., then you're going to get the best healing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so if a person knew that between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. we produce human growth hormone, and we're able to build our muscle and, you know, regenerate that which we used the previous day, then maybe that would matter more. But it's just starting earlier. People are very rebellious.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not going to go to bed earlier than 11.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll say, oh, that's a rare night that I go to bed before midnight. And I'm just like, shocked, because it's such free medicine.
Got to binge watch your Netflix and you know, scroll on your Instagram or Facebook.
This is not the day of watching MASH at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
We can watch it tomorrow, or we could choose to not put that as the number one priority. I certainly was advocating for everybody to stop watching their TV the past 2 years, because it drops your immune system to focus on the negative. And when, you know, if you looked at the percentage of positive news and negative news.
Oh my gosh. I stopped watching the news years ago. Yeah. I just actually put something out on our Instagram reel, the birds in our backyard. And I said, this is what I do of a morning instead of watching the news. I just watch the birds in the backyard. And it just brings me so much joy. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I always say to the girls, you know, they're on TikTok, everyone's on TikTok, and I sort of barely go on and look at it, because I'm like, girls, I'd seriously much rather go out and watch the squirrels playing in the forest, because it brings me way more joy. Yes. So if we talk about like the impact of joy upon our health, mental, spiritual, physical, and just how easy it is for people to access that themselves just through simple ways like watching squirrels.
Yes. I talk about joy a lot. You know, that is how we produce our happy hormones, our natural serotonin production, our dopamine, when we see something beautiful. I love to engage health and beauty. People comment a lot about how our office feels like a home, and they feel so safe and comfortable there.
Yeah.
So I find angle into whatever gives you joy. And it's, you know, very scientifically researched that the sounds of birds and the sounds of waves reset our whole physiology.
Wow.
And in fact, if your ability to heal is controlled by your 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, which is getting a little bit more traction now, you know, it's been a part of our wisdom in chiropractic, you know, forever, because we're not bone doctors, we're nerve system doctors. So when you are listening to the waves at the ocean, that's coming in at 10 hertz, which is the same frequency as the vagus nerve. So you're literally resetting your vagus nerve that controls your parasympathetic. You're familiar with that big word now, just means ability to heal, healing mode, stay and play mode, rest and digest mode. And so something as simple as the sounds of birds and waves.
Yeah, that was
amazing.
That's my favorite place to ground the earth at the beach. I miss being at the beach.
Yeah.
I was just there recently, like just stand like ankle deep in the water and then watch the energy. There's something about the energy of the waves too.
Yeah.
And you watch them and meditating as they form and break and stuff like that.
And it seems like the best way to reboot every single thing, right? You're getting your silica, your electrons, your salt, your water, your sun, all the full spectrum. Every single frequency of the sun's light plays our cells, plays our genomic code, our, the big word now is epigenetics, right? Which is above our genetic code. And so the sun and its frequencies play a huge role.
Yeah, I love getting the salt water up my nose and in my mouth and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Letting your chakras hit the ocean.
Clean the chakras.
out.
Yeah,
Clean
if you're into your
chakras.
chakras, and someone told me that's the best way to clean your chakras, dive in the ocean.
I'm for it. If it makes you feel more joy,
Yes.
yes.
So,
Sorry. Go.
Just one more quick thing on the ground. So stand on the grass bare feet or the sand or the beach. You can't stand on concrete, can you? Or what,
You can
what
stand on
can you do?
concrete. Yeah, there's a lot of people that fear the bugs. So I would say
They definitely do.
Get some
in
lemongrass trees.
North Carolina or people moving to you, they freak out. What about all the bugs and the roaches and this and that? I'm like,
No. We share the planet
creepy
with them.
crawlies. They won't hurt you.
cellular microbiome balancing. You need some of all of that.
Yeah.
You need all of it, and when people started becoming afraid of giving each other hugs this past few years, that was really damaging to people's immune systems. You know?
Wow.
We need at least 12 hugs, not only because we need that serotonin every day,
Yeah, right.
but we need to share microbiomes. That's how we are strong.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because people, whether they go to a new country or anywhere, like they cleaning their hands like crazy, not touching everything, but you got to get exposed to that, like to build up your immunity, don't you?
bugs.
You have
like
to
the
recognize
the local environment and stuff.
Yeah, because for eons, we've just been a part of a synergetic relationship with the environment, And
Yeah. So you mentioned hugs. So laughing and hugs. Yeah. Happy for the happy hormones and stuff. Get them going.
Yes,
Yeah.
And if a person, has more of a lonely life and they're still looking for dopamine, actually searching for a deal at a thrift store produces tons of dopamine.
Oh,
It's not the buying, it's the searching.
just searching.
Huh.
So just search and like window shopping. Just
Yeah, and looking in, say, a thrift store that you're trying to find a bauble that is worth valuable resources, but it's only $3, and there's your happy day, and whether you buy it or not, you just got that dopamine.
yeah.
Which is
I love
fabulous.
it. That's so great. So many different ways you can tap it. You don't need TikTok scrolling. You can just scroll through the thrift store.
That's right.
I
There
love
you
it.
go. And I follow this crazy guy that you know of on Instagram, the Liver King. He basically lives shirtless and is always outdoors all the time. Cold plunges, sun exposure, barefoot and stuff. But he was in New York City recently, and obviously it's hard to find nature there, but he said even just hug a tree, just get the energy
I
of the
love
tree.
hugging
Like he's got
trees.
his boots on and all that, like he's standing in New York City, but he's just holding on to a tree to get grounding. I'm like, that's cool.
Yes. That's all it takes.
I hug the trees all the time, and I do encourage the girls to do it. And Savannah will sometimes join me, but there is like a lovely energy exchange.
Tree bathing.
Yeah.
Forest bathing.
Yeah,
Forest
it's
bathing,
really beautiful, and it's hard to explain that because I think people are so shut off. It's just a tree. Like there's nothing I can get from the tree. But when you hug a tree, it's just a lovely energy exchange.
It's a synergy, it was gifted to us to be in contact with, to donate electrons. They give us oxygen, we give them CO2, they need that, it's perfect.
Yeah, and with
Beautiful.
like the roots system that goes deep into the ground, you can't get much more grounded than that.
Exactly.
Like seriously.
Way down there.
Yeah.
Actually, the voltage of the earth used to be a lot higher than it is now. So, we used to walk around barefoot and in leather, but then there was more of the earth's frequency that was healing back then. So now that brings up, why do we have clinics like we do? Because sometimes we need to hack the system.
Yeah, right.
In order to get to a level where the body then can engage on its own.
So you think, given the quite toxic world that we live in and how our cultures have evolved, that's done a lot to remove ourselves from the connection to Mother Earth, you feel that it's so much harder for us now to do it all with just these simple tips that we've been speaking about, that we really need to go beyond and come to wellness centres like yours to go a little deeper. Like, we sort of kind of, there's no avoiding it really now.
I believe that if people want to live the way they're living, they need to speed up that healing process. No doubt that everybody could heal on their own for almost free in nature. Takes huge commitment. It takes being outside for 1 to 2 to 3 hours every day at least.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot of people spending that time in their cars instead.
Yes.
So,
or on a subway, or sitting in their office, or even eating lunch. Everyone just eats lunch indoors, either at their desk or indoors. So I try and make the habit of eating lunch outside.
Thank you.
When I can.
I ask that question
I'm
a
not
lot.
consistent with it. I could do better at it. Plus, she's not staring at, like, people just literally stare at their computer or their phone eating lunch, and, like, you never have a break.
Yeah, and
like
how about a conversation?
From screens.
I love the small town that we live in, which is Sanford, and we see patients there, and have for the past 7 years. We've lived in this area since 2007, but I love how many people want to have a conversation in that town.
Yes.
And I think that people are coming out of their shells more now, that they missed connection. But some people were so cut off from connection that they forgot how to even look people in the eyes anymore.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so sad. But you're right, the amount of going back to joy and how it's this great free medicine. I experience a lot of joy because we find everyone in Raleigh's friendly. We just have so many conversations. Like yesterday, Clara's like, "Oh, Mum, we were going out somewhere." And she's like, "Can you just not talk to anyone?" Because we talk, and every time we go to talk to someone, she'll go like a little silent eye roll and a groan, because she's like, "You just keep talking and keep talking." And I say, "Well, it's so joyful." I'm like, I love meeting people. Their stories are fascinating. And it's this joyful experience and connection.
And you love Raleigh enough to come across the world to be here.
Yeah.
It's a good place to live.
Yeah. And even
really
before the pandemic and stuff, like, we're on that year-long RV road trip around the US, but we're so excited to get back to Raleigh and get into the community and meet people and stuff, because RVing can be quite isolating as well. So we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, so we're kind of like isolated again. But it's so good to get out now and just be around other humans. Like, there's got to be something like that. Like,
that is so huge. And no matter how you slice understanding what we all need, it's that human connection. It can be animal connection too.
Yeah.
But I think there's great magic and healing and perfectness that happens between an animal and a human that love each other.
Yeah. Well, there's horses are used a lot in therapy for troubled young ones especially, or people suffering from anxiety and depression. There's a lot of equine therapy.
Yeah, they say that a big part of that is to connect both sides of the brain.
Yeah, right.
And that's how we could find just peace inside ourselves versus the rumination and the anxiousness and the worrying about the future and the past. And, people get in these loops in their brain. And when that starts to happen, there's another sign that you're in dis-ease. And you can back it up before having to go towards something that's going to have a lot of side effects, perhaps,
So that, that connection with an animal that balances the brain, is it happening mostly because being with that animal and connecting with it is forcing you to be in the present moment, so everything else drops away?
Yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. And I think that you want to talk about grounding again. If the dog's outside and you bend over and pet the dog, you're grounding again. Same thing with horses. You put your hand on the horse, they're grounded, like a tree, So we need those electrons. They're also passing electrons. They're looking at us in the eye with non-conditional love, which is so amazing.
So important.
Yeah, totally. The other strategy I heard of is being around bees or being like with beekeepers. I've heard if they actually take people who are having mental health issues, like they actually send them to be around bees and with beekeepers.
I bet there's something about the frequency of bees.
Yes.
As well.
Oh, you would love diving into that to learn about it. It all has to do with that. They're very calming, bees.
Yes.
Like if you're around them.
It looks chaotic. Energy. Like looking at a beehive is like, but
in fact, it's calming to us. Like looking at a hummingbird, you're just mesmerized by how fast their wings are going, but you're peaceful and joyful.
So many simple, easy ways to tap in. I want to ask your opinion. We've spoken about it a couple of times on the podcast, something I've done for years. Speaking of the birds, I do it outside of a morning. We have a back screened-in patio porch. Yeah. And the forest at the back, the sound of the birds every morning as I'm meditating is just unbelievable, just heightens my joy, brings me peace.
Yes.
How do you feel about the importance of meditation and how is that helping people? And so many people are resistant to it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's a matter of being quiet ourselves, which we have to have in our neurology, and then noticing that in our quiet, it's actually not quiet. And then there's sounds that are healing. I used to think, I'm not sure if I can do this meditation thing because I keep having thoughts. But just imagine that you're in the ocean and you're just gently, dipping down under the water and you're going to have bubbles come up. Those are your thoughts. So you have bubbles and you just watch them go by and thank you, bubble, and thank you, thought. And you get to a point where it's just more quiet, more peaceful. And in that point, some people choose to have that whole journey with, say, one piece of wisdom, one piece of scripture, and literally just ponder and ponder. And meditation can be a walk. Meditation could be ponder something like that while doing dishes in a quiet house.
Yeah, I think people get freaked out about meditation. I used to too, because they think it means like meditating for like an hour like a Buddhist monk. Yeah. And then you don't have to do that. It can be like 5 minutes of just slow, deep breathing. Yeah. And then they're scared of their thoughts too, because wasn't that interesting study where they gave people two choices of being in a quiet room by themselves for like 20 minutes or physically getting tortured, and they chose the torture. I could be wrong on the two options, but it was something like that. I'm like, wow, people are just scared to be alone with their thoughts.
They are. In fact, it used to bring tears to my eyes to just think of having to sit outside alone by myself without anything to do for 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
And so if that were to bring tears to your eyes, then you need to go do that. That's your medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And someone, I've been asked this question a few times, like, what's the longest time you've ever been alone without being around another human? And it's not very long, crazily. And like, it's probably the same with everybody, most people.
And so a couple things there. We are afraid to be with our thoughts, or we are afraid to be alone for some reason. And it's the thing that we need so much, but we also need connection that's authentic and true. And, all of these are building on the topic of resilience, which has been what I've hung my life on, and really understanding what is resilience. Is resilience getting punched out and you get up and you shake it off? Is that resilience? No, I think that's striving to thrive, striving to live. But true resilience is freedom, right? When you have freedom to live without pain and suffering, that's resilience.
Yeah.
How, because people are so afraid to sit and meditate because of their thoughts. But from my experience, the actual practice of daily meditation has helped me to, I'm not going to say control your thoughts, but manage them, detach from my thoughts. So as I'm going through my everyday, something will come in that will get me stressed. I start getting lost in the thought. And because of my meditative practice, I can go, whoa, hang on a minute. You're in your thoughts. Yes. This is not real. Separate from it.
Yes.
I would never have been able to do that without the act of daily meditation that has probably rewired my brain and given me that tool to use. So how do we help people understand that the only way really, well, one of the ways to not be frightened of your thoughts is to see them and understand them. And meditation is a powerful way in order to do that.
And I do think taking a moment after your quiet, prayerful, meditative state to write down some of the things you were pondering or noticing were spinning around in your mind, and how to make friends with the worst case scenario that's floating in the mind, you know?
Yeah.
How to be okay with what is. Because a lot of the fear that people go through is just not being able to control the situation. And if we let go and realize what is really in control, and it's not us, then, you know, it's easier to be more at peace.
Yeah.
So acceptance is a big part of
you can't stop your thoughts, obviously. Like you can quiet them and slow them down, but there's always, you know, that so much chatter going on. And I think I mentioned this on the podcast with Marcus. I would like to be more consistent with meditation. Obviously the thoughts and that coming, but one visualization I used is like, imagine you're sitting on your front porch and there's a car coming down the street. Here comes the thought, and there it goes, just letting it go. Just, you know, when I start getting too many bad thoughts come in.
No, we don't need to judge the car. We don't need to judge the bubble.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah. But being consistent obviously is a tough thing. I mean, like, as I get up in the morning, I'm feeling like I've got a million things to do. I don't have this 10 minutes to sit and you know, just breathe slow and close my eyes and meditate. I've got, you know, like I've got to check this email or get the kids' lunch ready for school, do this, do that. It's like, but, you know, you got to have your priorities, obviously.
It comes down to that. I think that sounds, I feel like we let panic control our lives. Like just listening to you like that, I feel like we're all getting up. It's like, I'm panicked because I have so much I've got to control, so I've got to put the panic first rather than just putting on the brakes, doing everything we've been speaking about, and then probably having greater power.
Yeah, more efficiency.
But yeah, it just takes 5 minutes, Craig. Just 5-10 minutes. That's all you need.
Sometimes
get up 5 minutes earlier.
I'm having those feelings. I'll just go outside in my bare feet. I'll look east, make sure I'm not wearing glasses, and soak up that sun in my eyeballs and wait for a response of your physiology of a yawn. And that usually hits for me in 1 to 2 minutes. And that means that parasympathetic just kicked in and your body's engaged in everything's okay, everything's fine, you're going to be fine, you have enough time, you're healing right now.
I look for the yawn.
Look for the yawn.
Oh, never heard that one
before you get your coffee.
There you go. Yawn before your coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your little special surprise. Of course, mold-free coffee.
Yeah.
Shade-grown. You know, let's be a little bit more coffee snobby.
Yeah.
If we're going to have our coffee.
Yeah, we can dive into a rabbit hole over
Gosh,
coffee
so
and nutrition and stuff like
about.
that.
Yeah. So much that people aren't aware of, and that's the benefit of working with you is, like, as we mentioned, several years, and so we've learnt so much from you. And the services that you offer, as we spoke, there's a wide range of them, and we'll dive into them. But one thing I found fascinating with working with you was the first time we came, you do your test, and you can explain about that in a minute, but you run your tests on the person so you can see individually what's going on. And I had never told you that I had tick bite fever back in 2003. I got it in South Africa and was very, very sick. And on our first meeting, I never told you that. And you ran this test on me and you said something, oh, you've had Lyme disease before. Or you just, and I was like, how did you know that? Yeah. Like, your body's telling me.
Woo-woo.
There's so much wisdom in our frequencies, and we can connect with technology and understand our nervous system in a matter of 300 heartbeats.
Wow.
We can check every organ meridian and see how it's functioning. We can look at the brain waves in that same 300 heartbeats, and we can understand so much more. And also, there's voice analysis, which I did on you, and now you use on a regular basis to look for the frequency that's missing in the body or the frequency that's coming up all the time in your voice. And just when you start to think this is all in the land of woo, you know, the Pentagon has technology that picks up people's heart frequencies from 200 meters away.
Wow.
And so, you know, we know, but we're not using this. You know, they're developing the voice analysis to be a great tool to diagnose Alzheimer's with a 99.9% accuracy eventually.
It's incredible.
And wouldn't that be helpful to really understand? Because right now we don't know until a person has passed. that they had Alzheimer's for sure.
Right.
And so a lot of dementia type, situations that I see are actually, toxicities, voltage issues in the body, and brain inflammation. So, with every chiropractic adjustment, having laser, which drops the inflammation drastically and helps reconnect both sides of the brain and engage the cranial nerves to their fullest potential, people can end up leaving our office pretty quickly feeling very different in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think Craig and I both attest to that I think I always say when I'm feeling so much better just after one session with you, doesn't matter what it is that we do, we do a lot of things there. But your chiropractic session is really quite amazing. It's not just a simple adjustment. As you mentioned, there's a lot of other things that you do.
Yeah, so let's talk about your well-centered wellness center in Apex and how long you've had that operating, and because you're not originally from the area, you grew up in a few other places.
Yes.
And let's talk about that, the services that you offer, and we'll dive into that a little bit.
We've been caring for this area since 2007, and I love what North Carolina and especially the Raleigh area and townships outside of it offer for people with nature and days of sun and close to the mountains, close to the beach, all the things. But I love helping people find these tools for freedom. That's what it is again. Like, how can we optimize you so you can be your authentic self, that your cells remember being born with? How can we go more towards that? Because age is just really a lack of all these good things, the anti-age and age gracefully in the body being done. And people, they take better care of their cars and their dogs and their lawn.
So true.
Than themselves.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, when I was thinking about, just nutrition that before, I always think about this analogy, like what you put in your body matters as far as food and fuel and water and stuff. Like, do you put like just water in your car or junk food? Otherwise it'll break down almost instantly. It'll be spluttering and coughing and, So what you put in your body matters, obviously.
I say that we are, a high-powered machine. You want to be a Maserati, be a Maserati. You want to be a Ferrari. I mean, insurance agents know this. They are planning for us to live to 120 soon. So why are we not planning? If you want to live long,
you heard it here first. Follow the trend.
You want to have quality in your years. You're going to have some quantity.
Yeah. So, your background's as a chiropractor. Can we call you the top female chiropractor in North Carolina? Is there an award, or is that
subjective?
Like subjective? Yeah. Okay. We're
going to roll with it.
One of the top.
Have I heard people say that to me a lot? Yeah.
There you go.
Is there some?
Well, validation is important.
Yeah, it's been a blessing to work with people and hear things like, you're the inflammation whisperer, you're the avenger, you're a superhero. But it really goes back to the power that made the body heals the body. And so if we get that discord, that troublesome marker out of the way, then the body is amazing what it can do on its own. So I end up being like an English to English translator and helping you understand what your subconscious already knew, and it just needs help with launching.
Yeah. I mean, I know my health has improved so much from when I first came to see you, and it's nice to be able to come in, and I know that you're qualified, you have so much wisdom, you can run your test on me and can say, well, here's where you need help, here's where you're going well, and, here's some kind of ways that I can help you and some suggestions that I can offer. Yeah,
and really helping you be self-sustainable, right? Because it's not about, let me set you up on a program for the rest of your life. Like, when I have to think about my own health, and if I would want to never brush my teeth again, no, I'm going to want to brush my teeth every day.
Yeah.
And I also love getting care, once a week. I think that everybody should be doing self-care every day. And this is another just higher echelon, more precise way of having self-care. We're a family-owned business. We can make a lot of beautiful things happen with just my husband, who's the clinic director, and myself and a couple helpers. It's magical what is there for people.
Yeah, quick shout out to John. He's a cool dude, and he's had his own health journeys in the past too.
Yeah, we both
which is
had,
amazing.
Quite the brain stories, and his has been exceptional. He got to experience a brain tumor for his 40th birthday, basically.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was the size of a duck egg. So, this much sitting on top of his pituitary gland. He would love to share with people what he knows led to that. People often say, why me? Why me? Why do I have this problem? Well, you can look at exposures and environmental factors and lifestyle factors that were part of the equation to anything. So for him to be flourishing now, 12 years later,
it's incredible.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Proof, just look at the seeds and, grow where you're planted. And we're all planted in the Raleigh area, and it feels good.
Yeah.
We're blooming.
Yeah.
We
so,
are. We are.
Yeah, the services you offered, let's go through them.
Okay,
so obviously chiropractic. Why is it important to get an adjustment and have your body in alignment?
Okay, so everything thrives from the power within, and that comes from our connection with our brain, our nervous system, and our heart. And then, of course, those all interact with our digestion. And the funny part of that is everything that connects all of that together is your nervous system. And I've explained the vagus nerve being a huge component of that. So being able to reset the nervous system, allow anything that's impeding upon the flow from the brain down all the way to your tailbone and down to your toes, and every cell within and every organ within needs to have the best flow possible, right? Of course, we end up with accidents and traumas that can impose upon that, but we can create a higher flow like you are a light bulb and we're using a dimmer switch with chiropractic. Laser's incredible because it talks to your mitochondria. It tells the powerhouse to have more energy, to create more healing in at the speed of light, right? Because it's a laser. The lasers that we use are used in the Olympics and have been for the past 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's body's out of whack. Look, we all sit down too much, or we're hunched over looking at our phones. I mean, our daughter carries around this really heavy school bag all the time, and I'm kind of like, well, can you please put your books in the locker? And
she does now.
And then they put it on one side.
Oh yeah, the neck. Yeah, pulling on one
like
shoulder and the
this.
neck. And I grew up with a sporting background. I used to do hurdles as a kid, and then I was kicked goals in rugby, so I had this constant motion of my hips and my legs swinging, and everyone's just out of whack.
I can't imagine not having chiropractic in my life.
No.
I was introduced to it when I was 8, right around that same time as rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And, I introduced my daughter to a chiropractor the day after she was born. Because,
Actually, we did too, didn't we?
We did too, yeah.
There's a lot that can happen just in the birth process.
Yes.
The average pull and tug that the doctor or midwife is pulling to get the baby out, if it's not a natural process, is about 90 pounds of pressure and pulling on the neck of a child, of an infant. And so there's that. And then there's how about the thousands of times that we fall when we're trying to learn how to walk.
Yeah.
And so then you add in some, bullying in school, and you broke your arm when you fell off the bike, and it just piles up. And you get to teenage years and the car accidents sometimes, and hopefully none of ours will experience such trauma.
Yeah.
And then, additional falls and all the fun activities in the outdoors that can have some consequences.
Gee whiz, it's endless.
and then for
Let's get back to joy.
women in childbirth too. I mean, their bodies
that
get
was
twisted up.
Yeah, that was part of your story and our story with our childbirth and getting early chiropractor.
Yeah, it's just we can't really run away from all that, so we have to find ways to reverse the damage quickly. And why do so many people say, oh, I'm not going to go to a chiropractor because then I'll have to go all the time? Well, it's back to brushing your teeth again, right? So why do I have weekly chiropractic personally? Because when research was done, they realized that if you had an injury within 8 days, if you were adjusted within those 8 days, it wasn't as lengthy an issue, or it completely reversed.
Wow.
So life happens within a week.
Yeah.
I like to make sure that it doesn't continue to have consequences in the negative aspect.
Yeah, right. So you do it weekly.
Yeah.
What would be the optimal time for someone, do you think, if they couldn't manage weekly? Like, what would be?
Don't go longer than 3 weeks.
Okay.
Really, that's, over and over again, I find if people wait a month, they're like, gosh, I needed you so bad last week. I was just really at my end of my stress.
It's so true. Even Kalira, our eldest, comes to you regularly, and she'll come to us now and she'll go, when are we going to see Dr. Allison again? Like, I think I need to go.
Yeah.
So even she's a young age, she's understanding
Yeah.
how the regular chiropractic visits help her to feel good, and she can start to recognize when she's getting out of whack, which is so valuable.
Yeah, and what they're recognizing is this like loss of flow.
Yeah, she can just feel it.
Yeah. All right. So the Hocket,
Yes.
the white spaceship-looking thing,
So
our
that-
video.
Hypothermic, ozone, and carbonic acid transdermal technology.
Wow, it's a mouthful. I was going to say HOCATT, the acronym for that. What does that mean? And you've just done it.
So fabulous, right? So who knows what carbonic acid is when you first hear that? But it's as simple as carbon dioxide combined with steam. So the Hocket provides 10 different modalities of healing in that half-hour session.
Amazing.
So we have color therapy that's happening while you're having the far infrared sauna. And when the carbonic acid initiates onto your pores, it opens up your blood vessels and allows them to receive nutrition and receive healing even more. So that shuts off after 3 minutes, and in comes the ozone. And ozone, as long as it's not inhaled, that's why your head is out, you're covered here, and you have an oxygen concentrator near your nose. Ozone is incredibly healing and a great way of allowing oxygen to heal your body, or allowing the body to accept the oxygen to heal. So, most bugs that are negative and hard on us, they don't live in an oxygenated environment. And your skin is, your greatest organ for excreting what shouldn't be there and bringing in what should be there. Yeah. So it's very efficient.
Yeah, it's like it's like a super powered sauna. What is it, like 7 times? I wrote it down somewhere. You'll be at it. 7 times more detoxifying and chelating.
Yeah, we actually see the gray particles in the white Hocket, and that is not from anything we use because we clean with hydrogen peroxide. It's not from the white towels. Anything that comes out that is colored and particles is coming from you and your pores.
Yeah.
Because we're meant to detox from the sun's infrared through our pores. But what are we doing now? We're not doing that. We're not sweating. We're wearing clothes all the time. So, our lifestyles have made it so that it's not as compatible to do the freeway. You know?
Right. And you're not sweating because everyone's inside in the AC. We should be out in the humidity every day.
There's another big hint of somebody needing to empty the bucket is if you're not sweating, you're not able to sweat, then you're not getting the junk out.
Now, obviously,
it's staying inside, which is no.
Just made me think of a question. Obviously, one of the main places we sweat are the armpits.
Yes.
So I guess you could go down the rabbit hole of not wearing deodorant, or if you
what actually works, because that is a good topic.
Yeah.
So did you know that they put harmful aluminum in most baking soda and also most antiperspirants? And so deodorants, you have to look really carefully and make sure it doesn't have aluminum in it. So with that information, if they were using baking soda, well, then baking soda could be a component of your healthy underarm care. There are some great products out there that have minerals as their base. And then using a bit of baking soda is a real hard stop on any smells. And there's
baking soda can be used for anything.
and a lot of the natural deodorants are, that's one of their main ingredients.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do get a aluminum. We say aluminium in Australia. Aluminum-free deodorant. Yeah.
Some of them
so
don't work
important.
well, but
We know that collects in the brain. It doesn't just stay in the armpit. It builds up in our lymph, and our lymph can pass into our brain. So it's really important to not have accumulation of these heavy metals, because it leads to the problems with our brain inflammation and the dementia and all the things that we really don't want to have as we age.
And so with the Hocket, what kind of things do people come and use it for? Is it just preventative? And I know you've told me before that a lot of professional sports people actually use the Hocket.
Yeah, and actually have it in their houses.
Yeah, right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Lucky
them.
We love to do the before and after testing on the nervous system to see how the body used that information and did it have any anti-aging effects. Well, the winner is actually an 8-year anti-aging effect in half an hour with a headache migraine setting. So there's frequency-specific microcurrent as part of the technology. And we just add that as like a fantastic accessory that can have helpful ways of allowing the body to heal itself. And so sometimes people are doing just dropping inflammation. That's their whole goal. And sometimes they're being more picky about trying different frequencies. I just want to look at that it had results and people weren't too stressed out in the experience, right? Because it's very peaceful. And so I'd say 98% of the time it's a peaceful experience. And there are some people that any change causes their body to be in a stressful experience. So.
Yeah, it feels great. And I feel lighter and much more relaxed. I mean, I love getting hot. I love doing saunas and sweating and stuff, and more so than the cold therapy, ice plunges and cold showers. I know they all have their benefits too, but the comfort of heat is relaxing.
Really effective. And there's, I start every morning with a cold shower too, because that's so fantastic. But working those capillaries and really getting the tiny little venous supply and arterial supply in our fingers warm and fluid. We also have PEMF as part of the Hocket, and it's also a separate modality if people just wanted to do that. And what does that do? It separates the blood cells if you looked under a microscope. And that's fluidity. All of a sudden your cells are not clumped together in your cardiovascular system. So you can imagine that there'd be a lot of benefits to separating blood cells.
And so the PEMF is what, the AMP coil?
So no, we use a Hugo, which is the professionals in the National Hockey League, National Football League are using to separate their cells and increase capillary flow so that oxygenation can be even more efficient.
And are there studies, it'd be interesting for the professional sports people, are there studies about, because they're always looking at that stuff to improve performance?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies out there.
Yeah, they're even on the website of Hocket, they have someone saying, I can't imagine even a day going by without using his Hocket.
Wow.
Right? Because if you try to put yourself in the shoes of a professional athlete, which he has been in those shoes, and then continue on towards your 30s, 40s, getting pummeled, running up and down 200 yards over and over again, and just see how you're feeling at the end of that day, let alone do it again tomorrow when you got another game coming up. And here, let me, just annihilate you with a pile of 300-pound people. How do they do this? Well, they hack their system because this is not normal.
Yeah.
This demands not normal recovery.
Yeah.
And so I would say a lot of high-quality athletes know their sleep is so profound that they sleep about 12 hours a night.
Yeah.
And because that's their recovery time. But then this is their job. They need to have more cellular energy to have some more cellular repair and get it done by tomorrow.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing in the 90s, like if guys had a big game coming up or something and they had a hamstring injury or some other injury, swollen ankle, whatever, They would sit in an oxygen chamber thing, like pure oxygen.
Yeah.
And obviously it's 30 years ago. Like technology's changed and the gadgets are out there now.
And
but
so,
I even remember way back then them doing that.
Oxygen has been used, heavily in World War II because it was so fabulous on the battlefield to use oxygenated creams and use oxygen therapy to, save our troops.
Yeah, right.
And then we forgot about how helpful oxygen is.
Yeah,
well, isn't there?
I love that. We forgot about how helpful oxygen is. The thing that keeps us alive.
Yeah.
63% of our body is made of oxygen.
Yes. Well, isn't in Vegas, the places if you got a massive hangover, you can go and breathe pure oxygen.
Right.
And,
yes. Yeah.
Get on
Breathing it is a whole nother story than our mild hyperbaric oxygen tank therapy chamber, where you literally go and take a nap. And you can stay in there an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and really allow that 99.99% oxygen perfusion to every part of your body. Every cell in your body is getting that in that moment. It's a big difference from us breathing 20% oxygen on a good day, let alone perfusion in our brain.
Yeah.
Why do I see people with, say, long haulers, et cetera, getting better in just a few hours from oxygen therapy? Because they're opening up all their ability to have perfusion, and every cell is healing, including lung cells.
Amazing. Oxygen heals all, keeps us alive.
Yes.
Imagine. I was listening to a podcast this past week, and they were talking about investing in your health and how important it is. And they were saying how LeBron James spends $1 million a year just on his health preventative care. And they were saying, it was a shock to actually hear about that and for that to sink in, to think about, this is obviously one of the best basketball players ever. Performance for him is essential, and it's that essential that he's dumping $1 million a year into taking care of his body and his health.
What a return on investment.
Right, exactly,
He is investing in himself being the product.
Mm-hmm.
And what an amazing talent of genetics combined with, pure will and strength and then really diving into all the best things to reverse age or allow there to be healing every single day of his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great to, because I know
it's
a lot
great
of
to have a spare million, isn't it?
Yeah. Working on it.
But when that 1 million brings you 100 million, that's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. I mean, I think it's really great for people to hear that, because I think a lot of people aren't aware of the different healing modalities available to them, and maybe skeptical, is it really going to work, because we've been so conditioned to rely just on traditional medicine. So I think hearing those stories of, what athletes are doing and the success they're having, I think people feel a little bit more comfortable or safe hearing that and understanding, okay, this could be something that will be for me. If it works for LeBron James or whoever's using these therapies, then it could be good for me.
Yeah, and did it just hit the market yesterday? No, it has a lot of history and research on it. Anything that's in our office has been used for a very long time with a lot of effectiveness.
Yeah. So you have the Hockert, the hyperbaric oxygen you spoke about, the amp coil, which
that's
one that first originally come across you, one of the first treatments.
It was,
it's another way of helping the body get into a place where it's more easy for it to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to mimicking what it would be like if we lived more on the earth and had all the appropriate amounts of sun and the appropriate exercise and ate the appropriate foods and, as in foods that are life-sustaining and give us more voltage and allow our mitochondria to kick into gear for recovery, repair, and let's get up and go.
Yeah. I mean, I use that amp coil 5 days a week because that's the amount of time I'm allowed to use it. Going to take 2 days off. But I plan. It's just a daily habit now. I'm like, I'm not missing this because I know, my health has improved so much. But I know there's other things that really help me. There's different programs I can use. I do a sleep one once a week, and I have the best sleep that night. And all of these things, I think it's just compounding because of the daily habit I have with it to have really helped me. I know one morning, a couple of weeks ago, I think I came and told you when I came in to see you that I had awful brain fog when I woke up, which I went through a period of time where it was happening all the time, and now it's only every now and then. And so I jumped on the AMP coil and did the brain reboot. And in 30 minutes, I was completely clear, full of energy and ready to go.
Yes.
It's great.
So I try to do that brain reboot while I'm drinking, our mold-free coffee and without any sugar, and reading scripture or inspirational, moments are really important to us in the morning. So I love to combine that with technology so that you're getting even more cellular voltage so that you can kick out the stuff that's not supposed to be there that you got yesterday and last week and from your grandmother. Yes.
That's a whole new other topic, other podcast.
What's your mold-free coffee of choice these days?
We're using Purity.
I haven't heard that one. We use Bulletproof.
Purity.
Yeah, which, of course, he has a great story about how mold really affected his life.
Yeah.
Of course, Dave Asprey. Yep. The
He's
most famous biohacker who also adores the Hocket, by the way. He considers it one of the best machines for stacking.
For stacking. Because you're stacking different modalities.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually sold Bulletproof Copy, and I'm still trying to figure out who to, and I'm wondering if it's still the same high-level quality product.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm interested what else is out there coffee-wise.
Sometimes the quality can change with the new ownership.
Yeah, unfortunately, if somebody like, I won't mention any names, but kind of have a history of buying good, healthy quality products and then
then you realize that some big conglomeration company that has a lot of trash products now owns that once good product. So sometimes we can't always trust a brand that we knew 20 years ago. Yeah. Because unfortunately it was sold 12 years ago.
And so with all the products and that, because you recommend a lot of stuff to us that can come out of your CBD or lots of different, having a brain explosion right now.
Supplements.
Binders and things. So you research them and you stay on top of everything to make sure that you're always recommending stuff that is
I love to actually go to their warehouses and to their laboratories and visit and talk with the biochemist if possible. And I do that with a number of our products that we have on the market in our office, in our apothecary. And apothecary meaning, do we take every single thing that's in our apothecary at home every single day? No, there's a few. Like I'm not going to recommend that people lay off of vitamin D anytime soon because of that protective immune system and recovery ability. I think people should have mitochondrial support, and that's a big word for feeding those little guys that produce energy, ATP, in our cells, and being methylated B vitamins. That is critical to our stress response. I think that there's a big bone density issue with a lot of people, and I'm about to do a public service announcement on everybody in electrolytes because there has been just an incredible amount of men recently that have forgotten to drink water, have electrolytes, eat their salt, and be careful of the heat. And it's really hard on your kidneys.
Yeah.
And
really
lack
hard on
of
your muscles.
calcium, I guess, too, with the big push to the plant-based away from the animal-based, which, is another podcast episode.
So we got to have our calcium and our magnesium together with our vitamin D. And we need, we also have whole body vibration plate use in our office because that is so powerful for rebuilding bone density. If somebody's having an issue with that, this is what they used for our NASA astronauts to recover from, very deteriorating effects of being in space.
Oh, gosh.
Right? And a lot of the technology, it's either military, Pentagon, NASA that had it first because it repairs.
And how do you find out that information?
So I think I just have had I'm an explorer. I'm a romantic explorer as a personality type. I will forever be engaged in finding that which is smarter than the next thing and more efficient, because I feel like we have brilliant minds that are constantly developing that stuff, and it gets shoved down at times. And so I like to be in those streams of people that are looking for high-level products. You know?
I love it, and we just come to see you instead of
I'll
having
do the work for you and get rid of the garbage.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
That's hacking.
Bone density and like the calcium and stuff too. Obviously, like lifting heavy things too, which we've got away from a lot with people being so stationary. And that's why I like going to the gym and lifting heavy things. I think it's good for mental health as well. Lifting heavy weights as well as
turns on about 7,000 different health genes.
But building bone density and building muscle, which also is good for like glucose and stuff, isn't how it like the insulin stuff, I believe. And because as someone said, like it makes perfect sense to me. Like I want to be 80 years old and be able to squat on a toilet and get up again.
Oh, gosh,
You know, like, and so many people who fall when they're elderly and break their hips and stuff. It's like, you know,
that's the beginning of a slippery slope. So I am a big fan of people knowing what their density is and knowing the components that make a healthy bone density, and you know the amazing effects of weightlifting for hormones. And I think that more time needs to be made, including myself, in the women population to balance our hormones with weightlifting, and not seeing as so overwhelming that it would be a 45-minute endeavor. You know, there's a lot that can happen with wall sitting and squats, and that is true. That's a test for you. If you can't just go from standing to down in a squatted position, you have a lot of work to do. And that's a great test as to how is your structure doing, how's your balance, how's your brain, how's your flexibility, and all of that is so related to your voltage and your sunlight and your nutrition and your hydration. Yeah.
And do you think that, because I don't do weightlifting, but I'll use weights in a workout thing, just kind of hand weights and stuff. But I do a lot of workouts. I do a lot of exercise every day, about an hour, and I do yoga. So, and maybe just thinking from a woman's perspective, is that enough, or do we have to be lifting heavy weights?
I think that there's a whole nother aspect of healthy genetics that are kicked into gear when we actually lift something heavy, that our muscle has to work even harder. Could we also potentially do it with the weight of our own body through something like yoga and, you know, power pose and downward dog? And I think that's huge. And there's plenty of research that's been done on yoga and its ability to help a person in their bone density or, you know, other healthy ways. And for some people, they don't want to go to a yoga class, but if they did a stretching class that also had weight-bearing exercise, then there's that value again. You know?
Yeah, and when we talk about like weight training and stuff, we're not talking about like bodybuilding, and because I know some people are like, I don't want to look muscly, and some women kind of feel that way. I think when talking about lifting heavy things, you could just do that at home as well. Just lifting, you know, pick something up heavy and walk around the backyard, where it's like with good posture, obviously.
And, you know, there's so much wisdom in the sprinting, right? The doing something,
I used to do that.
1 minute exercises.
Yeah, and with all my injuries, I don't do high impact stuff. I do I walk a lot. So I was wondering, is it worth getting one of those weighted backpacks? Are they good, do you think, like just to walk around for half an hour?
I do think that would be great.
Like puts a bit more stress. Like we said, it's good to put some stress on your body.
We cannot live a beautiful, full life without the stress.
Yeah.
We need it. Literally, our cells need it.
Yeah, because I enjoy walking. It's meditative and it's low impact, but I'm wondering, is there a way to optimize it as better? Maybe carrying like a weighted back, like, because obviously people that go into like climb mountains or do long walks or stuff, they train by carrying around heavy backpacks.
And where do we lose bone density first? In our hips and our spine. So it's a great way to use Wolff's Law, where there's more pressure, there's more bone production.
Actually, I remember listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast episode a while back, and he was talking about this, and he just make sure don't make the mistake of giving something too heavy, because he did it. He bought, I can't remember the weight of it, but he did it in San Francisco one time, and he actually couldn't even, he had to call an Uber and leave his backpack on the side of the road because it was just too heavy. Yeah. So like everything, build into it.
Yeah, now you can have more compassion for the guys, you know, out there with their rucksacks.
Yes.
Built into the training.
Oh,
And
totally.
it will wear down every single muscle in your body.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's been fascinating. It's been great.
It's been great. And there's there's so much more that we can talk about, but I know
anytime
time is moving
Yeah,
on.
because you do the brain tap, the red light therapy, the infrared laser, nutrition advice, all the things.
You know, I really feel that a lot of people are having cardiovascular effects from many reasons, but it's this dangerous stress. And there's so many modalities in our office that help that, but one of the biggest is to work on dropping the inflammation in the brain. And so I love photobiomodulation for that. The laser is one aspect of it. We have the red light therapy that's from Germany, and that technology wraps up as much body as I can wrap up with red light, as well as a mask over the face, because it improves skin health with the near infrared, but also brain tap. I adore the brain tap technology because it does that photobiomodulation for the auricular points on the ears, which increases vagus nerve stimulation again. And then it also rebalances both sides of the brain. And what they've learned at, say, Duke studying them, or other companies trying to dispel this biohacking machine, what they found is that a month of 2 to 3 times of brain tap use can look like a brain of someone who'd been meditating for 40 years.
Wow.
40 or 4?
So
40.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
bring that on.
I can give you a link.
That's a good hack.
To attach to your podcast for people to have use of that app for 30 days. And, you know, doing it twice a day is pretty doable, because some sessions are 12 minutes and others are 22.
Okay.
But it's like a 22-minute vacation.
Oh, wow.
And if people really do it for a month and then look at themselves a month later,
I'll see the
much
difference.
more efficient brain.
It's incredible. We'll put that in the show notes so people can access that. But it is really incredible to be able to see, and that's the benefit of coming to see you, is the change that happens. Because before we did the Hocket, you ran the tests on us. And then as soon as we got out of the Hocket, you ran the test. And I think my age, I was 5 years younger.
In 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes.
That's pretty good.
I know, I was very happy. Thank you for that. But you actually have the test, and you have great diagrams, and you could actually just see how your body's improving just from 30 minutes.
Yeah, and this is technology that they've used in high-level areas of the world, and here it can be accessible to us, and it doesn't have to be restrictive financially. You know, people can have this type of test for even $60 to understand their circadian rhythm, and that many people really need to be going to bed at 8:30, and that is the last thing they want to hear from me.
Oh, yeah. Don't tell me to stop drinking coffee, and don't tell me to go to bed early.
And can I please keep the wine?
Those are the topics we hear repeatedly.
But it's good because you actually helped me to understand what good wines I could drink too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and really, is any alcohol good for our brain? No.
No.
But are there better choices? If we're going to have some poison.
Yeah.
But hang on a second. Hang on a second. What if
then getting the Hocket after it.
What if that one beer, or this is my excuse anyway, that one coffee brings you joy in your day
Exactly.
life?
And there is
That's got to
always-
balance out the poisons, doesn't it, a little bit?
I would think that something, neurologically takes place with connection, community, joy, not overindulging.
Yeah.
But but having that playfulness, you know.
Yeah, there's got to be
have your wine with a friend that you laugh with.
Yeah, there's got to be a element, like a balance there, like having a coffee with a friend in a cafe and a chat and joy, or a beer with a buddy, versus being isolated at home, indoors, not getting any interaction or sunlight or anything. Like
right, drinking your beer in the dark.
I'm running with that anyway. That's my excuse.
We'll run with that for now.
Or
Otherwise,
drink your beer with your shoes off on the grass, and then it's like you're okay. You've earned the beer
with a bit of safe sun exposure, barefoot on the grass. Good quality beer.
Maybe it's sunset, not sunrise.
So you're stacking your hat.
Yeah, totally. I'm all about that. Totally. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So if there's a lot that we've spoken about, we've given people some really simple free tips that they can use in their everyday life to build these habits and hack their health. And then if someone wants to come and see you, and we spoke about all the different modalities that you offer, how are they going to know what to start with?
What to start with is a neurological optimization appointment. And we keep that under $300 so that it's more accessible to people. It really gives me a full hour to understand and start to dive into somebody's nervous system and where are the weaknesses and how are they handling their stresses. Are they more in fight or flight, sympathetic tone where they can't digest their food? Or do they have a capacity right now to heal? They just haven't turned it on. So sometimes we need to go towards increasing somebody's cellular energy, and that's the top priority more than anything else. So then we're probably going to look more towards the oxygen, the photobiomodulation, you know, but it allows me to touch somebody's structure. Are they having, equal from side to side? Is there symmetry? Are they efficient? That's where it starts. And we, as a small mom and pop office, really appreciate just text responses that people are interested in our care, and then we will schedule them and go from there and try to get them in as soon as possible.
Sounds great. And we'll have links to that and the phone number.
Yes.
They text you. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome stuff. Yeah.
And then could someone just say, well, I just want to have a chiropractic treatment, or I just want to use the hot kit? They can go that route as well.
Yeah. And then with that, we'll just do before and after testing for a few minutes to connect, check the blood pressure, and then see how somebody has improved after the technology, because then they have more belief that it was helpful for them. And maybe it wasn't helpful for them. Maybe they're one of the few that was called too much stress. But most likely they're going to anti-age, become more efficient, their organ function's going to improve, their bone density, perhaps, if someone was using some of our technology, but as definitely cellular energy and brain efficiency happens with almost every person.
Yeah, I'm say it from 3 years, I think. We've been seeing you for 3 years.
Can you make
evidence.
me smarter?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, brain tapping.
I'm into
brain
it.
taps.
Yeah. I've done a little bit of brain tapping before. Again, inconsistent. It's all about being consistent, obviously, with everything too.
Yes. And I love that you walk, because what a great free medicine again to prevent dementia.
I walk everywhere.
And
I love
Alzheimer's. I mean, that's one of the key things is to incorporate that 20 to 30 minute walk every day.
Move
it's
the body.
It's good for everything. You're out in nature with the sun.
Yep.
You're getting your exercise, and it just calms you down. Like it just helps you de-stress.
And you're moving your lymphatic
One
system.
of the things that got us through like the early stages of the pandemic, being able to walk around our lake or the neighbourhood, like without that, I went stir crazy.
Now I can't. My dad walks like 10 kilometres a day. I don't know what that is in miles, but
it's a lot.
He does. He walks. He's walking all day long, but he will go crazy if he's not walking. Like it's really the thing that just, because he's a highly stressful person.
Yes.
It's just the thing that just makes him
reconnects both sides of the brain again. That the cross crawl motion of our legs and our opposite arm is absolutely imperative to our health. And you can start to notice that neurology is changing and shifting towards the dis-ease side when somebody's arms don't move equally.
Right.
So if one is attached to the side and the other is moving, that's a sign that they really need to get a checkup, a neurological checkup, and see what could be happening there.
Yeah. Wow. And guys, if you're work in an office building or staying in a hotel, skip the elevator and take the stairs.
Always,
If you're capable. We always do that.
Park far away. You know, that old adage.
Always cracks me up when you see a gym or whatever and they'll have a escalator that leads into the entrance of the gym and people take that. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, the girls. The girls got so annoyed at me at London because the tubes are like several stories below the earth.
Yes.
And they have the escalators.
This
and
is
I was
the
like, let's go. We're walking up and
stairs.
down them. And they're like, can we just ride the escalator? I'm like, no, come on, let's go, girls. It's like, this is several stories high.
And that is how you wear out your children.
Yes.
And that's the underground train subway system, if you're not familiar what the tube is.
It's a great exercise.
Move your body.
Great.
Move your body. Move your body.
I know I did
Move
because
your
I lived
body.
in London for 2 years and I would be on the train every day and sometimes moving quickly between jobs. So I would walk up and down the escalators all the time and I lost a lot of weight because of it. So I was like,
You were doing
this.
weightlifting yourself
Yeah.
and dealing with gravity and, you know, all the cardiovascular aspects of it. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Such simple ways we can help ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so
Great to be here.
where can people find you physically, like your address, location, and also your website, online and stuff?
Head to the website Well Centered Wellness and text us for the quickest response at 919-463-0021.
And then you're not far from downtown Apex, like you're
Just
your
right
center.
there. And we also are located in Sanford.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Dr. Allison. It's been so great having you on here.
Thanks, Craig.
Loved
and
our
Kaz.
conversation. Love working with you. Love
Yeah.
visiting you all the time, all of our family.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
much
this
for the
has been great.
opportunity to get the message out to the community we love so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
valuable resource for anyone living in Raleigh and anyone further afield who wants to come in and see Dr. Allison. You're welcome in Raleigh.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank
If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with a friend, share the love, and subscribe on all the podcasting platforms.
Yep. And we'll see you in the next podcast. All right, bye, guys. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.